Is punch power all genetics? Or can it be continually enhanced with specific training? That's what I wanted to find out, so for an entire month I trained to try to increase my punch power. What strange techniques did I use? What problems did I run into? And ultimately, how much did I increase the power of my punch? Let's find out, but you gotta focus. Let us begin. First of all, figuring out a way to measure punch strength actually ended up being a whole thing in itself. 160. But I ended up finding this device on Amazon that was supposed to measure punch force when you hit it. Also, getting this thing hooked up was another thing in itself. But eventually an idea formed that allowed me to move this thing around without drilling a hole in the wall. Anyways, after a cringy warm-up, it was time to test my punch strength. The pain shock through the arm is actually like, I feel like maybe prevented me a little bit. So I took the three of my highest readings for my jab, my cross, and my hook. Not as good as I thought they would be. I'm gonna see if I can double it. Based on what I found, it looks like the average professional boxer punches with a force between 700 and 800 pounds of force. While in my readings, I was getting under 300. You might think this had me discouraged, but in my mind, I was thinking that I had some serious improvements I could make. Now, before you think it's gonna be all beginner gains, I wanna let you know that I've actually been messing around with Bob and working on my technique, watching tutorials and videos online here and there for the last 5 years. Slightly embarrassing, I know, but the point I'm trying to get across is the gains I'm planning to make in this video won't just be beginner gains because I'm punching for the first time. So to get started for the first week, I pretty much just raw dogged it. I trained several exercises that I could do that I came across online in forums and videos where people claimed that these exercises help increase punch strength. And I trained these exercises in sequence Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The first was the resistance band punch, wrapping a resistance band around the back and holding it tightly in each hand, and then just punching away at Bob, trying to maintain the technique I had as best as I could. The second was the simple yet effective explosive push-up. I tried to do a set of 10 of these, followed by 15 more regular push-ups for a total of 25 push-ups. I then did this for 4 sets. Now, midway through the week, I added a weight vest to further challenge my push power. Now, what I believe is important to cover here is I also did do pull-ups to help balance things out. Now, I also did this exercise where I tried to increase my grip strength while in the punch motion. I did this by using a Captains of Crush gripper, holding it down, and then just punching Bob. It was actually a lot more difficult than I thought to maintain this closed fist tight grip while doing a punching motion, but I felt like training to keep it solid at the very end of the punch would increase the efficiency for delivering as much power as possible. Dude, that's, man. Now, also under the same idea, I worked on my thumb strength, which is the final digit to tightly close the fist. Now, something else I started doing that was very interesting was bone conditioning. At the end of every session, punching sand up to several hundred times. This is actually going to be another longer term video on its own, but I believed this would help me with punch strength by helping me increase my bone strength and fist density so I could deliver as much power as possible. Now, I also trained what I heard was very important for the punch, more core and rotational core exercises to hopefully help get more power and strength through the core to the fist. Now, I believed it would have helped to throw in some various compound leg exercises like squats, explosive jumping lunges, etc. However, my back had been on edge for the last couple of months and these exercises often irritate my back. Lucky enough that I could punch as hard as I could without irritating my back, I didn't want to cause any problems. So I stuck to the exercises I could do to try to make improvements on my strength, speed, and ultimately power. And at the end of my first week, testing my punch strength, it was up. Super motivated by seeing these improvements, I took the weekend off and then started week 2 with the same exercises. But getting hungry for more improvements, I decided to throw in 20 minutes of heavy bag training at the end of these workouts, trying to deliver as much power in each punch into the heavy bag because I came across several sources saying that a good way to develop punch strength is just by practicing punching hard. Now, something else very important I want to emphasize that you probably are gnawing at your teeth at because I really haven't mentioned it too much is technique. With every punching exercise up until this point that I was doing, I was also trying to focus and work on and think about technique. Not just punching my arm forward, but trying to drive the force from the ground through the hips with upper torso rotation to deliver a snappy, powerful punch. But some additional things I really tried to think about when doing the heavy bag training was getting my punching arms shoulder more forward and out, delivering that power from the ground from the hips through the twist out more, and then with each punch thinking about punching through the target, which in this instance was the heavy bag. Now, first when I was trying to focus on these adjustments, it felt like I was more pushing the bag, but as I worked on it, it felt more and more like a more powerful punch. Another thing in week 2 that I added more of was forearm training. I figured if I could add size to my forearms, then moving more of this mass at the same or faster rate would yield more force. But also I believe the simple forearm training would help increase the strength of my wrist to prevent my hand from bending when it would hit the target. And now at the end of week 2, testing my punch power, it was up yet again.
Woo! 336. Almost broke my hand.
Stoked, after 2 weeks of back-to-back improvements, I continued with this journey, stacking all of these exercises together, training Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The only thing was my right shoulder, my shoulder that I have problems with, started to ache. But I actually just decided to keep pushing through. And I even added in some new things. First of all, training with weighted gloves, also known as heavy hand training. It's supposed to help with increasing speed and power of the punch. I also added in this rotational exercise with the cable machine. This seemed like, because it challenged basically every aspect of the entire punch, that it would be one of the best punching exercises out there, which it might be. But at the end of week 3, testing my punch strength, it kind of seemed like it plateaued. Frustrated, I figured after taking the weekend off, I would come back feeling better and stronger. However, this was not the case. In the beginning of week 4, I just didn't feel well. Powering through the training anyways, by the middle of the week, I wasn't feeling any better. In fact, I might have been feeling worse. I just felt tired, my body ached, and I just didn't feel like I was delivering much power in my training punches. And then when I took my punch measurements at the end of the week, just like I felt, my punch power was down.
My gosh, dude.
Like, way down. Now being very frustrated with these results, at the end of week 4, I went back and analyzed my training over the last 4 weeks. What I concluded is maybe I was reaching the point of overtraining, because every week I was adding new exercises and also trying to push harder than the week before on the exercises I was already doing. And I think I reached a point where my training was outpacing my recovery. So with basically being at the end of the month, I decided to give myself a little bit more time. Time to implement this phase called tapering. Tapering is a technique athletes will often do before a competition when they want to be most maximized with conditioning, strength, but also recovery. And what this typically consists of is going through the motions of training, but with less volume. Gym bros might know this concept as a deload week. So what I really did was I cut the number of sets I was doing in half and or the number of time I was doing a specific form of training about in half. But ultimately something I learned from years of training and experimenting with these deload weeks was that in order to get the best results from this deload week, what I found works for me the best is I wanted to feel this feeling at the end of my training session where it felt like I could keep going and I didn't feel so beat down, but I still felt like I got some stimulation. Almost like that stimulate don't annihilate concept. Anyways, without getting too abstract, basically cutting my volume in half, by the end of these next several days, I was beginning to feel very refreshed and more powerful once again. Hopeful I was going to see some very big improvements to my punch power. When I went to go test the punch strength, I was disappointed.
I don't know what's going on. Like, that was a dead center hit. 290? It's worse than the first day. Oh, dude, it's starting to... Dude, okay. Yo, I think it's starting to bow because, you know, it's wood and it warps. And I think that bow is fighting back at me. Dude, I literally just need to put it right in the wall, but this... I don't want to damage this.
So what I discovered is the wood I had my punch strength measuring device screwed to was beginning to warp outwards or bend outwards. And when I would punch it, this bow would go inwards, acting like a spring, absorbing some of my punch force, not allowing me to get all of that force into the measuring device for an accurate reading. So I later returned, this time hopefully for real. At first I just used the sticky pad on the back of the device to see if I could get it to stick to the wall just long enough for me to punch it. It almost worked, but then with a little help from some Gorilla Tape, I got it to stick to the wall at least long enough for the proper test.
341! Yeah!
So I ended up recording an average of plus 35.3 pounds across all punches. That's about a pound increase a day. Let me know your thoughts, what you'd fix, any advice, and if you think I should keep this going for 100 days to see if I can increase the total by 100 pounds. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, more videos coming out. Don't forget to subscribe and turn those notifications on. Peace. I will see you all in the next video.